Most people are living under an assumption that no longer exists, an assumption that tells them they are needed, that their role has value simply because it exists, and that society will always require their presence in the same way it always has. This assumption feels safe, and because it feels safe, people rarely question it. But the AI era is quietly dismantling this belief without announcing it, without confrontation, and without warning. It does not attack people directly. It simply reorganizes the system in a way that no longer requires them. For most of human history, being average was enough. Average intelligence, average effort, average skill. Systems were built around human limitations. They required large numbers of people to function. Work existed not because it was optimal, but because it was necessary. That world rewarded reliability and repetition. If you showed up, followed instructions, and did your part, you had a place. That world is gone. Artificial intelligence changes the foundation of how value is created. It removes the need for scale and human labor and replaces it with scale and systems. One well-designed system can now replace thousands of predictable human actions. This shift does not happen emotionally, it happens mathematically. And mathematics does not care about fairness, loyalty, or comfort. It only cares about efficiency. When we say people will become useless in the AI era, we are not talking about intelligence, effort, or morality. We are talking about relevance. Useless does not mean incapable, it means unnecessary. It means the outcome does not change whether you are present or not. And when outcomes do not depend on you, your removal becomes an optimization, not a tragedy. This is difficult for people to accept because most people tie their identity to their usefulness. They believe that because they are busy, because they are working, because they are contributing time, they must matter. But systems do not reward time, they reward impact. And impact is no longer distributed evenly across effort. In the AI era, a small number of people and systems create disproportionate value, while large numbers of people create output that can be replicated or eliminated. The most dangerous part of this transition is that it feels normal while it is happening. People do not wake up one day and realize they are becoming irrelevant. They wake up, go to work, complete tasks, attend meetings, and repeat routines. Everything feels familiar, but underneath that familiarity, the system is slowly learning how to function without them. Processes become more automated, decisions become more centralized, human input becomes optional. People often misunderstand this process. They expect replacement to look dramatic. They imagine layoffs, announcements, or sudden disruption. In reality, replacement begins with reduction. Fewer decisions, less influence, narrower responsibilities, until one day the role still exists, but the person no longer matters. This is how relevance disappears in modern systems, quietly. The AI era does not reward obedience. It does not reward compliance. These were valuable traits in hierarchical systems built around human coordination. But AI systems do not need coordination. They need optimization. Following instructions without understanding the system no longer creates value. In fact, it creates risk, because predictable behavior is the easiest behavior to automate. Most people feel safe because they are employed, but employment is no longer a guarantee of relevance. You can have a job and still be unnecessary. You can be busy and still be replaceable. This distinction is uncomfortable, which is why most people avoid thinking about it. Comfort delays awareness, and delayed awareness is costly. Another illusion people hold is that effort will protect them. They believe that working harder, staying loyal, and being dependable will secure their place. This belief worked in a world where effort was scarce. Today, effort is abundant. Millions of people work hard. Very few people create outcomes that systems cannot replicate. AI does not measure effort, it measures efficiency, and efficiency eliminates redundancy. The AI era introduces a harsh reality. Systems no longer need average human contribution to function. They need precision, adaptability, and leverage. Average behavior produces average output, and average output is no longer competitive. When systems can generate better results faster and cheaper, average human input becomes noise. This does not mean people are worthless. It means the way value is created has changed. And when the rules change, those who continue playing by old rules do not lose because they are weak. They lose because they are misaligned. Misalignment is the silent killer of relevance. Most people will not notice this shift until it is too late. They will feel confused rather than alarmed. They will wonder why opportunities shrink, why growth slows, why recognition disappears. They will blame external forces without realizing that the system simply no longer needs what they offer in the way they offer it. This is why this conversation matters, not to create fear, but to break illusions. Fear paralyzes, awareness repositions. The purpose of this video is to force a question that most people avoid. If my role disappeared tomorrow, would the outcome change? If the answer is uncertain, the warning has already arrived. The AI era does not remove humans, it removes assumptions. It removes the assumption that being present is enough. It removes the assumption that effort equals value. And it removes the assumption that the future will resemble the past. Those who cling to these assumptions will feel increasingly unnecessary, even if they cannot explain why. This is only the beginning of the conversation. Understanding why people become useless is the first step. Understanding how to avoid that fate comes next. But before solutions make sense, illusions must collapse. And that collapse always feels uncomfortable.
Average behavior does not look dangerous. That is why it survives for so long. It looks responsible, acceptable, and normal. It blends in. It avoids attention. And because it avoids attention, it avoids scrutiny. In a stable world, this kind of behavior was rewarded. It kept systems running smoothly. It reduced risk. It created predictability. But the AI era is not a stable world, and predictability has turned from an advantage into a liability. Most people are trained to behave in ways that make systems comfortable, not in ways that make themselves valuable. They learn to follow processes, respect hierarchies, and avoid mistakes. Over time, this training shapes how they think. They stop asking why something is done and focus only on how to do it correctly. This shift feels professional, but it quietly strips away judgment. And judgment is one of the last things machines struggle to replace. Average behavior prioritizes safety over growth. It chooses familiarity over exploration. It avoids discomfort because discomfort feels inefficient. But in the AI era, growth happens almost entirely inside discomfort. Learning new tools, new systems, and new ways of thinking feels slow and frustrating at first. Average behavior interprets this friction as a sign to stop. Adaptable behavior interprets it as a signal to continue. Another defining feature of average behavior is waiting. Waiting for clarity, waiting for instructions, waiting for permission, waiting for certainty. This habit is deeply ingrained because for decades, institutions guided progress. Schools defined curricula, companies defined career paths, governments defined stability. But AI accelerates change faster than institutions can respond. By the time guidance arrives, it is already outdated. People who wait are not lazy, they are conditioned. They were taught that following the rules leads to security, but the rules are changing faster than they can be updated. Waiting now means falling behind silently. The gap does not feel dramatic at first. It feels like mild confusion, slight frustration, and slow stagnation. But stagnation compounds, and by the time it becomes visible, reversing it is expensive. Average behavior also relies heavily on external validation. Performance reviews, promotions, titles, and recognition become markers of worth. When these signals weaken or disappear, people feel lost. They don't know how to evaluate themselves without them. AI-driven systems reduce these signals because decisions become automated and distributed. The absence of feedback does not mean you are doing fine. It often means you are no longer central. Another subtle danger is specialization without flexibility. Average behavior encourages people to become very good at one narrow function and then stay there. This creates short-term efficiency but long-term fragility. When that function becomes automated or restructured, the person attached to it collapses with it. Adaptable people specialize too, but they remain aware that specialization is temporary. They build bridges to adjacent skills and contexts. Comfort reinforces average behavior. When life feels manageable, urgency disappears. People tell themselves they will adapt later when things become clearer. But clarity rarely comes before change. It comes after engagement. The AI era punishes those who wait for certainty because certainty no longer exists as a prerequisite. Direction exists, signals exist, but guarantees do not. Average behavior also discourages questioning. Questioning slows things down. It challenges authority. It introduces uncertainty. In hierarchical systems, questioning was risky. In AI-driven systems, unquestioned behavior is risky. Systems optimize for outcomes, not obedience. Those who can identify flawed assumptions and outdated processes become valuable. Those who execute without thinking become redundant. Another aspect of average behavior is the illusion of busyness. Full calendars, constant notifications, and endless tasks create the feeling of importance. But busyness is not a signal of value. It is often a signal of inefficiency. AI excels at removing inefficiency. When inefficiency disappears, so do the roles built around managing it. People often assume that being average keeps them safe because it keeps them invisible. They believe standing out is risky. But invisibility in optimized systems is not safety. It is vulnerability. When systems decide what to keep and what to remove, they remove what makes no difference. Average behavior, by definition, makes minimal difference. This is why so many people are shocked when they are suddenly excluded from decisions, projects, or opportunities. They weren't failing, they were simply not essential. And in systems that prioritize efficiency, non-essential elements are the first to be removed. The AI era does not punish people for being average intentionally. It simply has no use for average behavior at scale. When machines handle the baseline, humans must operate above it or around it. Staying at the baseline is no longer neutral. It is a slow slide toward irrelevance. Part 2 is not about blaming people for being average. It is about exposing how average behavior, once rewarded, now quietly erodes relevance. Recognizing this pattern is uncomfortable, but necessary, because until you see how relevance disappears, you cannot understand how to preserve it. This awareness is the bridge between illusion and adaptation, and crossing that bridge requires letting go of behaviors that once felt safe.
Many people believe they are protected because they are intelligent. They believe their education, their degree, their knowledge, or their experience places them above the average. This belief feels logical, and for a long time it was correct. Intelligence once acted as a shield. It separated people who could think from people who could only follow. But the AI era quietly dismantles this protection. Intelligence alone is no longer rare. It is no longer exclusive. And when something stops being exclusive, it stops being valuable. Artificial intelligence does not replace intelligence. It replaces stagnant intelligence. Intelligence that stays fixed inside one domain, one role, or one identity becomes predictable, and predictability is the foundation of automation. When thinking follows the same patterns repeatedly, systems learn those patterns. Once learned, they no longer need the human who produced them. Education gives people confidence, but it also gives them rigidity. Many educated individuals struggle more with adaptation than those with fewer credentials. Their identity becomes tied to what they studied, what they mastered, and what once made them successful. This attachment makes change feel like loss. Admitting that a skill is losing value feels like admitting personal failure, so instead of updating, they defend the past. Degrees represent past relevance, not future relevance. They prove that someone once understood a system well enough to pass through it. But systems evolve. Knowledge expires. What mattered 5 years ago may already be obsolete. The AI era compresses this cycle aggressively. Skills age faster than people emotionally accept. Those who confuse past success with future protection are often the most exposed. Another illusion intelligence creates is overconfidence. Smart people assume they will see danger early. They believe they will recognize the moment adaptation becomes necessary. But intelligence does not guarantee awareness. In fact, it can delay it. Intelligent people are often good at rationalizing why change is unnecessary. They explain away early signals. They trust their judgment even when the environment has shifted beyond their experience. AI systems do not get attached to their past performance. They update constantly. Humans do not. This creates a widening gap. An AI model trained yesterday is already better today. A human who learned something 10 years ago may still be using it unchanged. Intelligence without continuous updating slowly becomes irrelevant, even if it remains impressive on paper. Another danger is specialization without renewal. Intelligent people often go deep into one domain. Depth creates authority, but depth without breadth creates fragility. When a domain shifts or shrinks, those deeply embedded within it struggle to move. The AI era does not reward depth alone. It rewards the ability to reposition depth into new contexts. Education also trains people to wait for structure. Curricula, exams, certifications, and career ladders create a sense of guided progress. Once formal education ends, many people feel lost. They wait for the next structured step. But the AI era offers fewer ladders and more open terrain. Those who cannot self-direct learning drift. Intelligence without self-direction stagnates. There is also a psychological trap that affects educated individuals. They equate learning with consumption. Reading, watching, analyzing, and understanding feel productive, but consumption without application does not change positioning. The future does not reward those who understand change intellectually. It rewards those who adjust behaviorally. Knowledge that does not alter action remains inert. AI exposes this brutally. It can absorb information instantly. It can analyze patterns faster than any human. Competing on knowledge accumulation alone is impossible. The remaining advantage lies in interpretation, judgment, and integration. Intelligence must move from knowing to deciding, from analyzing to acting under uncertainty. Many people assume creativity will save them, but creativity that remains theoretical is also vulnerable. AI generates ideas. It produces options. What it cannot do reliably is choose what matters in a human context, but this advantage only exists for those who take responsibility for decisions. Intelligent observers who never commit remain spectators in a system that rewards action. The AI era punishes hesitation more than ignorance. An informed person who experiments may outperform an intelligent person who waits. This feels unfair, but systems do not measure fairness, they measure outcomes. Intelligence that does not translate into movement becomes decorative rather than functional. Part 3 is not an attack on intelligence or education. It is a warning against treating them as permanent shields. Intelligence is a tool, not a guarantee. Education is a foundation, not a destination. Without adaptability, humility, and continuous repositioning, even the smartest individuals become obsolete quietly. Understanding this requires abandoning another comforting illusion, that being smart is enough. It never was. It only felt that way because the environment was slower. The AI era accelerates everything. It exposes which intelligence is alive and which intelligence is frozen. And frozen intelligence, no matter how impressive it once was, eventually cracks under pressure.
As the AI era unfolds, a divide is forming that most people do not yet recognize. It is not a divide between rich and poor, educated and uneducated, or young and old. Those divisions are visible and familiar. The real divide is quieter and more dangerous. It is the divide between people who can adapt and people who cannot. This divide does not announce itself. It reveals itself slowly through outcomes. Adaptable people are often misunderstood. They are not always the smartest in the room. They are not always the most experienced. But they share one defining trait: they do not cling to certainty. They accept that the environment is unstable and build their behavior around that fact. Rigid people do the opposite. They search for stability and defend it. They build their identity around fixed roles, fixed skills, and fixed expectations. When those expectations break, so do they. Rigidity feels responsible. It looks like loyalty, consistency, and discipline. It feels safe because it reduces anxiety. But safety in a changing environment is an illusion. The more rigid someone becomes, the fewer options they have when change arrives. Adaptable people trade comfort for optionality. Rigid people trade optionality for comfort. Over time, this trade becomes irreversible. One of the clearest signs of rigidity is resistance to learning, not open refusal, but subtle avoidance. Statements like, "This doesn't apply to me, I'll learn it later," or "This is just a trend," are defensive reactions to uncertainty. Adaptable people react differently. They do not commit immediately, but they explore, they test, they observe, they gather information before forming conclusions. This small difference compounds dramatically. Adaptable people also redefine failure. For rigid people, failure threatens identity. It proves that their existing model is flawed. This makes them defensive. They hide mistakes, justify decisions, and delay change. Adaptable people treat failure as feedback. It does not define them, it informs them. This allows them to move quickly without emotional paralysis. Another major difference lies in how each group relates to time. Rigid people optimize for short-term stability. They prefer predictable routines and guaranteed outcomes. Adaptable people optimize for long-term resilience. They accept short-term discomfort to preserve future flexibility. This often makes adaptable people look reckless early on, and rigid people look responsible. But as the environment shifts, the outcomes reverse. The AI era amplifies this difference. Systems change faster than people emotionally adjust. Tools evolve, roles blur, boundaries dissolve. Adaptable people thrive in this ambiguity because they are not attached to how things used to work. Rigid people struggle because they are constantly trying to restore a past version of reality. The future does not move backward to accommodate nostalgia. Another defining factor is how each group relates to authority. Rigid people rely heavily on external validation. Titles, hierarchies, and credentials guide their decisions. When authority weakens or becomes automated, they feel lost. Adaptable people develop internal authority. They make decisions based on understanding rather than permission. This does not make them rebellious, it makes them resilient. Adaptable people also think in systems rather than tasks. They see how parts interact. They understand incentives, constraints, and feedback loops. This allows them to reposition when one part fails. Rigid people focus on tasks in isolation. When a task disappears, their value disappears with it. Systems thinking creates continuity. Task thinking creates fragility. The most dangerous aspect of rigidity is that it often feels virtuous. People take pride in consistency. They believe sticking to one path proves character. In a stable world, that belief made sense. In a dynamic world, it becomes a trap. Character is no longer proven by staying the same. It is proven by adjusting without losing integrity. This divide is not theoretical. It is already shaping outcomes. Adaptable people experience uncertainty, but they also experience opportunity. Rigid people experience confusion, resentment, and loss of control. Over time, frustration replaces confidence. They blame technology, institutions, or younger generations without recognizing the real source of the problem, an inability to update their internal model of the world. The AI era does not punish people for being rigid intentionally, it simply outpaces them. Speed exposes rigidity, complexity amplifies it. What once felt like stability becomes stagnation, and stagnation in an accelerating environment feels like decline. This divide is about recognizing this divide before it becomes permanent, because adaptability is not a talent you were born with, it is a behavior you practice. The longer someone remains rigid, the harder it becomes to change, but change is still possible as long as awareness exists. The future will not ask whether you are comfortable, it will ask whether you can respond. Those who can respond remain relevant, those who cannot become spectators in a system they no longer understand. This divide will define the next decade. In which side someone falls on will depend less on their intelligence and more on their willingness to let go of certainty.
At this point, a hard truth should be clear. The AI era does not care about who you used to be. It does not care about how much effort you invested in the past, how loyal you were, or how comfortable your position once felt. Systems move forward, not backward. And once relevance is lost, it is rarely handed back. This is why the question is no longer how to stay safe, but how to become useful again in a world that has changed its definition of value. Being useful in the AI era does not mean competing with machines. That is a losing strategy. Machines will always win at speed, memory, and repetition. Trying to outperform them in those areas leads only to exhaustion. Usefulness now comes from operating where machines struggle. Context, judgment, synthesis, and responsibility still require humans, but only when humans actively step into those roles. These qualities do not appear automatically, they must be practiced intentionally. One of the most important shifts a person can make is moving from task ownership to outcome ownership. Tasks are easy to automate, outcomes are not. People who define themselves by tasks wait to be replaced. People who define themselves by outcomes look for leverage. They ask what actually matters, what success looks like, and what trade-offs are involved. This kind of thinking cannot be reduced to a checklist. It requires accountability, and accountability creates relevance. Another critical factor is the ability to operate without certainty. The AI era removes guarantees. It removes clear career ladders and predictable progress. Those who wait for clarity will always move last. Those who accept uncertainty and act anyway gain time. Time becomes the most valuable currency because it allows learning, adjustment, and recovery. People who gain time gain options, and options are the only real form of security left. Learning also changes meaning. In the past, learning meant accumulation, degrees, certificates, credentials. In the present, learning means adaptation. It means updating assumptions, unlearning outdated methods, and experimenting before permission is granted. People who treat learning as a continuous process remain flexible. People who treat it as a phase become rigid. Flexibility is not talent, it is habit. Another overlooked element of usefulness is the ability to reduce confusion. As systems grow more complex, clarity becomes scarce. People who can explain what is happening, why it matters, and how to respond become anchors. This does not require charisma, it requires understanding. When others panic or freeze, those who create clarity gain influence. Influence creates protection, not because it is granted, but because it is needed. Responsibility also becomes more visible. In the AI era, excuses collapse quickly. When information is abundant, ignorance loses credibility. When tools are accessible, helplessness looks like avoidance. This does not mean people must know everything. It means they must take ownership of positioning themselves. No system will do that on their behalf. Responsibility is shifting inward, and resisting that shift increases vulnerability. Most people will ignore this message because it is uncomfortable. Comfort is seductive. It tells people that tomorrow will resemble today, that change can wait, and that preparation is optional. But comfort delays adaptation, and delayed adaptation is expensive. Those who adapt early experience controlled discomfort. Those who adapt late experience forced disruption. The difference is not intelligence, it is timing. The future does not need you to be exceptional. It needs you to be intentional. Intentional about what you learn, how you think, and where you position yourself. Small, consistent adjustments compound faster than dramatic last-minute reactions. People who quietly reposition themselves rarely announce it. They simply stop being replaceable. This channel exists for that reason. Future Shock is not here to motivate you or reassure you. It exists to confront illusions before they become liabilities, to show direction before pressure forces decisions. If this video disturbed you, that disturbance is useful. It means old assumptions are breaking, and broken assumptions create space for new strategies. The AI era will continue to accelerate. Systems will continue to optimize. Roles will continue to disappear quietly. None of this will slow down to make people comfortable. The only question that remains is whether you respond early or explain later why you did not. Subscribe to Future Shock if you want clarity instead of comfort, preparation instead of panic, and understanding instead of surprise. The future will not announce itself again. But now, you cannot say you did not see it coming.